Supplier diversity development is a very important component of global purchasing at Ford Motor Company. We have one of the oldest supplier diversity development programs in the country. We started back in the early 1970s, and we have purchased well over $40 billion worth of goods and services, mostly with minorities and increasingly with women business enterprises. And so we focus in two specific areas, which is non-production, which is everything that does not go on the vehicle, and then production, which is everything, all of the parts and components that go on the Ford vehicles. Our production side represents 75% of our minority spend, and on the non-production side, we have the greatest number of minority and women suppliers, but only about 25% of the spend. Our biggest challenges are related to our business. We are a company that went from 8 brands, we are down to 2, and so we are reducing our supply base from somewhere in the order of 3,000 or so suppliers to 750 by 2011. So we are aggressively downsizing. And so the challenge for us is how to grow our existing suppliers bigger. So as other businesses go away, how do we grow the suppliers and give them more business? And also, how do we keep them on a trajectory so that they provide us with technology, they provide us with innovation, they provide us with a global footprint that they need to stay in the automotive base. I think the way that people need to think about entering the corporate supply base is, we have a number of countries, including the United States, which we call local content laws. Many people want to grow their automotive industry, and so they require local content. Ford Motor Company is a government contractor, a prime contractor, so we also are required to source with minorities and women as a result of that. So we have special consideration for minority and women suppliers. Now, that said, we try to get the best suppliers that we can. We already have many of them in the base. We've grown them to a certain size. So we're going to continue to keep growing those to the extent that there are other minority and women suppliers that can provide us with new ideas that can beat out incumbents, and we can replace one supplier for another. Then we're interested in looking at those companies. And also, we also encourage our tier 1 suppliers to source with minority and women suppliers. They have specific objectives for sourcing in that space. And we also encourage the smaller ones that may not be able to come into the supply base directly, to come into through our tier 1 suppliers. And we have a platform called the M-tier system where we can look down 5 tiers into the system, and we can see how much we spend and how much our suppliers spend with diverse suppliers. It really amazes me that they don't look at their peer companies as the first stage in terms of business development, because really their peer companies are the place where you could probably get an easier hit in terms of making money. And so, to become a Ford supplier, one takes a lot of persistence, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of experience, takes a lot of money. And so, to the extent that you can start with MBEs and WBE, your peer companies, and grow through the tiers, at some point you're going to get to the scale that Ford Motor Company needs, and you will have already had a reputation, you will already had a track record, and we can see, pretty clearly how you are, as opposed to just trying to come into the door as a very small supplier without the necessary wherewithal and the bandwidth to be able to do business with us. We want to do business with minority and women suppliers, absolutely. But there is a progression that people can take, beginning with their peer companies. The absolute best thing that happened to business, and I'll tell you why. Ford Motor Company started a process. We have a car called the Fiesta. It is still 6 months away from being introduced into the market. But a year ago, Ford Motor Company queried its employee base and said, we're going to give out 100 Fiestas, and here are the skill sets that you need. And I was going to apply. And so the skill sets that they needed was videotaping, Facebook, other types of social media, and so all of a sudden it was for a younger demographic. I did not have any of those skills. I subsequently have them, by the way. Nonetheless, we gave away the 100 Fiestas, and we gave them to young people, but the requirement was for them to videotape their experience and use social media to communicate with whoever it is that they wanted to. So they use Facebook, they use MySpace, whatever the social media was that was available. And so we got so much exposure, even before putting out even one ad, that we already have people lined up to order the vehicles. And so it's just amazing the kind of reach that we have. And when you take a look at something like Facebook, I mean, it's number 5, I think, in terms of population of countries. So the kind of reach that you have with social media is really unequaled. And the question is, how is business going to optimize the use of that?